We'll start with Lori Gaylord, candidate for superintendent.
Good evening. I am Lori Gaylord, Superintendent of Schools in Clark County School District, and I'm going to start right off the bat, I appreciate your vote for me for re-election in the office primary. My husband and I are invested in this community. We have lived, worked, can you hear me okay? We have lived, worked, and raised our children in this community. My children, both of them, graduated from the Martin County School District, and I have been invested for 16 years in the Martin County School District. 2 years as a consultant, 10 years as a school board member, and now 4 years as your superintendent of schools. My priorities are education of students, all students, including our neediest students. Number 2, presenting a balanced budget to the school board and making recommendations for their financial responsibility. Number 3, I'd like to let and thank the League of Women Voters and the AAUW know that 43% of our graduating seniors last year were female. So I think that that's for your future membership for the League of Women Voters. Thank you.
Scott King.
Yes, hello. My name's Scott King. I'm a father of 3 children, all in the elementary schools. My background, I have a law degree from the University of Florida, an MBA from the University of Michigan, a computer engineering degree from the University of Michigan, and an electrical engineering degree from the University of Michigan. So while I may not be an educator by nature, I've been in the classroom for about 23 years and have had over 150 teachers. My business background, I'm an attorney currently doing probate and estates and trusts and tax, but before that I was the head of international equities and head of North American equities for various mutual funds, one in excess of about 1 billion Australian dollars. And I've worked on a lot of budgets, a lot of planning, and what I think we need in this district right now is better planning, better execution for making our kids educated learners.
Candidates for School Board District 5. Michael DiTerlizzi.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us here tonight. We appreciate you being here also. My name is Michael DiTerlizzi. I am a 34-year resident in Martin County. Many of you may know me from my previous life as a county commissioner for 8 years, representing you, the taxpayers of Martin County. I'd like to thank my wife Jody for being here with me. She is the rock behind me and the mother of our 3 wonderful children, all 3 graduates of the Martin County school system. We have a family business, 26 years here in Martin County. I'm in the auto repair business and convenience store business, 2 very tough businesses, but 2 businesses that helped me get into public service and become a public servant. I take my job very, very seriously. Public service is very important to me. I ask you to support me come August 30th, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about us while we're here. Thank you.
Josh Ferrara.
Good evening. I'd like to start by thanking the League of Women Voters for giving us all the opportunity to discuss what I think are really some of the most important issues in our community, the education of our children. My name is Josh Ferrara, and I'm a lifelong resident of Martin County. I'm a product of our public schools, a lawyer, a mediator, but most importantly, I'm a father. I'm running for a position on the Martin County School Board because I truly believe that with some creativity, focused leadership, and vision, we can transform Martin County schools from a very good school district into a truly great, nationally premier education system. Now, we all know that Martin County is a very good school district, but I am running for a position on the school board because I don't believe that good is good enough. Good leads to apathy. Good leads to complacency. Good leads us to believe that being the number 3 school district in the number 26th rated state is acceptable. I don't believe it is, and if you'll support me on August 30th, I will fight to make Martin County the greatest school district in the country.
Larry Green.
Hi, I'm Larry Green. I'm a recent retiree of the Martin County School District. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event today. I want to thank my wife Phyllis for coming today. I am a proud father of 2 graduates of the Martin County school system. I have some unfinished business. My platform is very simple. I think we test our students too much. I believe the FSA is not a viable instrument. I feel we need to look at the compensation we pay our staff members. And lastly, I think we need to engage our community in our schools. I am looking forward to sharing some more about my platform throughout the afternoon. Thank you.
We'll begin question 1 with Scott King. What is the greatest challenge facing Martin County schools today, and what solutions would you propose?
I think the greatest challenge facing Martin County schools is the achievement levels under the new standards. We've dropped in the last 4 years from number 7 achievement-wise down to 16. In the 3rd grade, we are down to 44th in reading and down to 38th in math. And I think we need to change our model to focus more on make it more school-centric, so we have engaged learners, or more powers with the teachers and the principals, and less is being dictated from the district.
Michael DiGiulisi.
Thank you. One of the greatest problems we face is being able to fulfill our vision statement, which is to educate all students for success. And we strive very hard to make that happen. Without the proper dollars allocated to our education system, it becomes more and more difficult to do that. We're obviously concerned about employee salaries, and that's everybody from your janitorial staff on up to your teachers and your educators and your principals and administrative staff. We want to make sure, we have to make sure, and we're required and obligated to ensure that your students and the students in Martin County are safe and that they get the best possible education they can. Without the proper dollars to obligate to those things, we will not be able to fulfill our vision and mission statement for Martin County School District. Thank you.
Josh Ferraro.
47% of the children in Martin County cannot read at grade level proficiently by the 3rd grade. Let me repeat that, even though I only have a minute. 47% of the children in Martin County cannot read proficiently by the 3rd grade. Nearly 1 in 2. I find that to be a travesty. I find it to be a systemic failure, and I find it to be something that we absolutely must solve as soon as possible, because reading is the foundation for learning and the foundation for success. How do we do that? We need to engage the community with children between 0 and 5, because the scientists will tell you that 85% of the human brain is developed before the age of 5. Scientists will tell you that communication between the parent and the child, and then the child and the parent, is the #1 component in childhood reading levels. We need to send an aide into every single parent's home within the 1st week of birth to explain to them the importance of preparing their child for school, and to give them the tools to do that. If we do that, we will be successful as a school district, and our children will be successful members of our community.
I'll repeat the question. What is the greatest challenge facing Martin County schools today, and what solutions would you propose? Larry Green.
The #1 issue in any school system should be student achievement. It should be about the kids. And I see some of my teachers that have served at schools where I served as an administrator, and they know I'm all about the data. You have to look at the data. Some schools did well this year, some schools didn't do so well. You have to dig into the data and see how the school did. What I will do, and I'm the only candidate that can hit the ground running right now to do that, look at the data. I'm an informed candidate. I can be a board member and help staff with that. Right now, we're not servicing the lowest quartile. That's one of the 7 areas in elementary schools where I don't think many of the elementary schools did a good job this year. That's why some elementary schools dropped. We need to make sure we're servicing all the students. So yes, student achievement is #1 on my hit list.
Lori Gaylord.
Well, again, I think student achievement, and that's what it's all about, all students for success. I think the changing demographics in our county, also the changing tests, the changing way that they score the test, these are all the things that we have looked at, and in the past year, we predicted that the scores would drop. We've been in the community for the past 6 months sharing this information with the community so that they understand what is happening in the community. With 3rd grade, that's why for the past 2 years, I have been involved in implementing in our community the Martin Family Language Literacy Involvement Program to involve families, because if we don't have children at the age of 5 years old, when they come to school ready to learn, we are not going to have them prepared to read at 3rd grade. So this needs to be a community initiative to be able to have these children, because we can predict, much like we can predict high school graduation rate at third grade reading rate, we can predict third grade success by the age of 4 years old for a student's vocabulary and language development.
Thank you. We'll begin question 2 with Michael Dieterlese. What guidelines should be used in hiring and evaluating staff?
Thank you. Well, as a businessman, 34 years in Martin County, I evaluate staff every day. When you have an organization of 2,400 employees, it's a little bit different. It's a government organization. It's a little bit different, a little bit more difficult. You have, we have contracts with our employees, and there's some guidelines in our contracts. The guidelines have changed. Evaluations have just recently begun in the last few years, and guess what? Our legislature changes those guidelines, and we have to work and continue to work. And our board has worked with our legislature to create good guidelines to evaluate our staff and our employees. Most importantly, there needs to be accountability. Accountability from the lowest level all the way up to the top level. I'm committed to do that. I've been working with our legislature since I moved to Florida. I have been working with our legislature, and I will continue to do that to solve the problems within this district. Thank you.
Josh Ferraro.
The research shows that the best way to evaluate teachers that you have already is to send in independent evaluators from the district, so that teachers are not being evaluated or tested or otherwise judged by their peers within their own school, the people that they hang out with, the people that they have coffee with, the people that they go out to dinner with. When those evaluations are done, they need to be done with both objective and subjective factors. There needs to be a checklist of things that teachers are doing right or wrong, and there needs to be room for subjective comments from the evaluator. But more importantly, we need to evaluate teachers correctly before we hire them. And so I would propose that we don't hire as many teachers right out of school. We have a great district here. We have a great quality of life with which to lure people. We should be looking at most at lateral hires from other districts around the country. We should be going to the education foundation of every county in this country and picking out the teacher of the year and doing what's necessary to convince them that Martin County is a great place to live and a great place to teach.
Larry Green.
Please repeat the question.
I will. What guidelines should be used in hiring and evaluating staff?
Okay, that's a very big question because there's two different aspects there. Let me talk about hiring real quick and then evaluating. Hiring, I think it's important. The hiring at the school site is important because I always use teachers as committees to help me hire. I never hired on my own. It's important to let teams help me hire at the grade level. That helped me with morale. As far as evaluating, right now we use the Marzano model to evaluate teachers. And I think that's important because I believe in performance-based pay. And I believe the Marzano model is being used. I believe in that performance pay right now. I believe in that evaluation system. I do not believe in parents or students evaluating teachers. I believe in administrators evaluating teachers.
Lori Gaylord.
Number one is, I would not make a recommendation to the school board for an employee that did not meet the qualifications for their job. Because we have more than just teachers in the school district. We have an instructional side of the house and an operational side of the house. All employees must be evaluated fairly and consistently. If I'm going to make a recommendation for an employee that doesn't meet the qualifications, it better be a darn good reason. And before I would do that, I would call every single board member and explain why I would be making that recommendation. I think that the guidelines, one of the things that I always say to my staff is to be able to say, it takes all of us, the operational side and the instructional side, to put the man on the moon. It takes all of us to educate students. So every single person in the school district knows that we are going to make an impact by doing our best job, moving our students, because it takes all of us to be able to move the students, and that's what we want to be able to see.
Scott King.
What was the question again?
What guidelines should be used in hiring and evaluating staff?
I'm very very much performance-based. You have restrictions from the state because the state makes you follow the VAN model for some of the teachers for highly effective and effective. And I think we should go beyond that and focus more on teacher excellence and finding teachers that are willing and pay them to actually go and develop curriculum and get paid for it with a nice supplement. Because that's an area that we desperately need, is to have the curriculum aspect and how we're doing it currently, instead of just handing out frameworks, someone measuring how effective we are in the lessons that we're doing, how effective they are, to see which ones we should be using and not using going forward. Because right now, we don't have our handle on that, of what's being effective. As far as the staff, as far as the administrative at the district, I mean, I just saw a $297,000 raise put through across the board, not based on performance. That's the first thing I'd change.
We'll begin question 3 with Josh Guevara. What will you do to support underperforming schools?
So the number one thing that you would do to support underperforming schools is to make sure that each and every student has the opportunity coming into school to be kindergarten ready. You know, in Palm City, where I live and where our district is, 83% of the students come into school kindergarten ready. That means that they know approximately 15,000 vocabulary words, and they're ready to learn how to read and eventually how to do math and social sciences and history. We don't have that in our lower performing schools, unfortunately. Those children, on average, hear 30 million less words over their adolescence. Those children, 67% of them don't have a single library book or a single children's book in their home. We need to make a focused community effort led by the school board to ensure that that changes. Because we can give more money to the problem, we can hand more money to the problem, we can evaluate teachers all we want and administrators all we want, unless we are focusing on the core problem, child readiness, school readiness, the children and the schools will never succeed the way we need them to.
Larry Green.
I think it's important to support teachers. I come from a struggling school. I got to Pinewood Elementary School in 2011. It was a struggling school. We got some support from Title I money, and I put it into personnel. I hired some reading, some literacy coaches and some math coaches, and I told those people, you're on one-year contracts. I need you to go into classrooms and support teachers. And lo and behold, Pinewood Elementary School, the last 2 years, were one of 2 of the only Title I schools that are B in the county of Martin. It's important to support the instructors in the classroom. You definitely have to follow a coaching model and use a gradual release. You have to support the teachers within the classroom. I would use coaches throughout the county supporting the instructors within the classroom.
Lori Gaylord.
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes. What will you do to support underperforming schools?
Well, we're already in place for that, but we do need teachers to have professional development. That is key. The teachers need the tools that they need to do to educate the students. And we also need to encourage our best teachers to teach at underperforming schools. We need to be able to provide an incentive for those teachers to be able to teach students at those schools. We need to provide support to not only the teachers, but all the support staff at those schools. And we need to have instructional strategies for the teachers to be able to help implement those changes that we need to see. Going back to as well, one of the things that we are pushing in heavily is because we know that we have language deficient children and vocabulary deficient children, and one of the things that teachers are asking for is we need vocabulary. We need these things. So that's going to be a push this year for us to be able to push in vocabulary because we know that all the students need it. And again, professional development, support for our teachers, and an incentive for our teachers to continue to teach or encourage teachers, our best teachers, to teach at those schools.
Scott King.
I think it's a very good question, because basically I think the first time ever we've got an elementary school that's in the lowest 300, which I don't think's ever happened. And I think it's the first time, I'm not sure, but we don't have a high school that's A-rated, which is a concern from parents. But as far as the underperforming schools, it takes a community. I mean, we have to go back and we have to start looking at what's going with the child care services and try to create a nurturing environment for these kids so they have a safe environment, whether it's Boys and Girl Scouts, Child Services. There's some other programs we have for that. But it's like, as far as the English language learning, I think we have to look down south. I mean, this isn't a unique problem as far as English language learners. I think we see it in Miami, and we see it in Broward, we see it in Fort St. Lucie. It's not something unique. So we've really got to focus on just getting the best ideas as far as what models are being used around the country. But we have to come together as a community, as a business, and as parents. And we have to support those people to lift that back up.
Michael DiGerlisi.
Thank you. You know, I'd like to say, Mrs. Gaylord, you really mentioned the right things. But what Mrs. Gaylord didn't tell you was that many of these things are already being implemented by the school district through direction of the school board. I already mentioned reading coaches and coaches into the classroom. We've instituted that. We've known of these problems coming forward, so we have actually targeted those areas and are instituting coaches. But before that, we set up an administrator of professional development and enhanced our organization so that professional development is a key aspect of what we do. Because if our teachers aren't prepared to do the job, then we're not going to do the job. So we have worked diligently to set up professional development for our teachers at convenient times so they can get that done. We've targeted with coaches. We're working with school readiness and other organizations. We are actually doing that. Thank you.
We'll begin question 4 with Larry Green. What issue is your priority when elected?
Well, I already talked about my platform, but there's another issue I want to talk about, and that's morale. More and more is being asked of our staff. And, you know, my platform, again, is, you know, we're asking more of our kids. We're testing our kids too much, I feel. But morale within the district of our staff is going down. We need to try to find a way to compensate all staff members. It's not necessarily a local issue. We have to make sure that we lobby Tallahassee for more local funding. I've traveled to Tallahassee for the last 4 years to talk to Senator Negron, to Mary Lynn Magar, with the House and the Senate House chairs, Senate education chairs, about funding. We need to try to get more money. It's a shame when I have to interview a non-instructional employee and tell them their starting salary is $9.67 an hour. Morale is at an all-time low. We need to try to compensate our staff more.
Lori Gaylord.
Our goal in the school district is to educate students and to be able to have students graduate high school with opportunities for them to go to have a career, go to college, or enter the military. You need to have a high school graduation to be able to enter into the military. But one of the biggest concerns for me is this mandatory third grade retention. I've been out to schools and I look and I see who is being in the classrooms that are retained for third grade. And 67% of our students are ELL. That means that English is their second language, English is their second language, 67%. Another 23% are our ESE students. These are the students that are in third grade. I'm concerned about that because when you look at that, that's a huge percentage of our students in third grade that the state is saying that if they don't pass the test, this is a mandatory retention. I've actually have had our State Board of Education member to visit our schools last week to be able to look at this and address this at the state level.
Scott King.
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
What issue is your priority when elected?
The first thing is, I want to change the model as far as to make it more focused on the student-teacher relationship and making them engaged learners. And we really have to refocus with the community and get the parents back involved in a lot of the way we're organizing things right now. We're doing too much from the top down, and not enough is coming from getting community involved, getting the parents involved, and really focusing on our mission should be whatever we can do to get every dollar we spend, everyone's job is to serve that teacher-student relationship, and the schools and the principals are the most important aspect on everything we do. It shouldn't be from a district office. The district should be in the schools all the time, finding out what's going on instead of taking surveys and waiting a year to find out what's going on. We need people in the schools all the time from the district level, and we can't just sit back and do surveys.
Michael DiTerlizzi.
Thank you. My priorities are to continue to find solutions to excessive testing. It's one of the issues our teachers complain about a lot. And somebody mentioned that the problem isn't only at the district, it's the legislature who puts down these rules. Our legislators are not educators. They don't know anything about the education system. They should work better with us. I can pick up the phone and call my local legislators, and I do, and I talk about the issues. I don't have to drive to Tallahassee. I don't have to waste taxpayers' dollars. I pick up my phone, call my senator, call my legislators. We have to continue to find solutions to this Common Core and Florida standards, which is just a little bit different than Common Core, and a lot of that involves testing. The dollars, and to improve on our budget again even more. We have worked diligently in the last 3.5 years to improve our budget, and we have. We've saved vast amounts of money and will continue to do so, and I'll talk later about the others.
Thank you. Josh Ferrara.
It won't be any surprise for you given my last 3 answers, but the number one issue that I see is childhood reading. A child who cannot read proficiently by the 3rd grade will fall behind every single year. And that's why, while 47% of the children in Martin County can't read proficiently by 3rd grade, the numbers get even starker by 8th grade. Scientists and statisticians can tell you with a precise degree of certainty from your 3rd grade reading level what your teen pregnancy rate is going to be, what your dropout rate is going to be, what your prison rate is going to be. This is an economic issue, it's a public safety issue, but most importantly, it's a moral issue. And we can fix it. The community is finally coming together behind this issue. The Shared Services Council, the Children's Services Council, the United Way, the Boys and Girls Club are all getting on the bus. The problem is right now there's no driver to that bus. The natural driver for the school bus is the school district. It sounds kitschy, but it works. The school district needs to be driving the bus to ensure that every single student has the tools necessary to be able to read proficiently.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join with me in thanking the